Hello everyone. Hi, good morning. How is everybody doing? As you all know, the MCO has been extended to the 9th of June. So I hope that most of you are staying safe at home. And however, for those who are working at the office, like myself today, try to please social distancing and also practice good respiratory hygiene. Hello Azhani, good morning. So let me introduce myself. I'm Noor Farihawardati and I am a soft skills and language trainer with Mango Training. I have been teaching and training for about 11 years and I am a communication expert. So I help people to upskill themselves to communicate better at work. Alright, so as you all listening, feel free to say anything, or if you like to ask questions, feel free to type it in the live chat box right next to this video. So I would like to welcome everybody to Mango Training Virtual Communication Webinar Series 2. And thank you so much for being here today with me. So hopefully you're going to enjoy being with me for about 30 minutes. So with the current situation that's happening right now, social distancing is here to stay. So that is why a lot of companies, they have changed the way they work. So some of us, still working from home, and then for those who are working at the office, they actually have to follow certain SOPs, and also they need to make sure that they work. They have to rotate, or a bit depending on the roster that provided by the management. So with social distancing, with coronavirus pandemic, things are not pretty much the same as how it used to be. So that is why this actually has made physical face-to-face interaction that we used to have with people before this has decreased, and we rely more on online interaction or meeting platforms, for example, like Zoom, WebEx, Microsoft Teams, and many more. So let me ask you a quick question. How many of you have experienced any issues or have problems with communicating online? So if you do, you can type I in the chat box right next to this video. So before we start, let me just minimize myself so that you can see the slides. Okay. All right. So now let's take a look at all the issues that we normally experience when we communicate online. So first of all, we know that now we are in this lockdown, so a lot of people, they are very uncertain and unsure what's happening with their business, what's going to happen to their job and career. So that's why most people, they lose motivation. And same thing, during this coronavirus pandemic, a lot of people, they have this mixed feelings of feeling stress. They feel anxious, they feel frustrated because it is more challenging to get things accomplished, and in order to adjust to the new routine is a bit difficult to most people. And then when you communicate online, it is actually a bit difficult for us to judge how people feel, their emotions. So this, we tend to miscommunicate, especially when you're doing it online. And having an adequate environment. So when we work from home or even at the office, to find a place, an ideal workplace to work at this point of time is a bit challenging. And lastly, we can't really see people face to face these days because everybody is social distancing, working from home. So the only choice that we have is to communicate online. So when we communicate with somebody online, it seems a bit unreal as compared to if you are in the same room with somebody. So that actually create distance between you and your audience. So those are the issues that we normally experience when we are communicating online. So how do we solve this problem? So how can we overcome all these issues? So my topic today is going to be divided into 5 points. So the first point that I'm going to make is how can we making the human connection online. So first of all is we need to know about virtual communication etiquette. So here we're going to be learning on what are the do's and don'ts when we are communicating online, and also what are the things that can we can avoid when to avoid us from being distracted, and also at the same time we can help people not to be distracted when we communicate online. And next thing is you need to be able to listen actively. So here we are going to be exploring how we can listen actively by demonstrating to the speaker or to the audience that we understand the message conveyed. And human touch. So here, how can we build rapport with our audience, and also at the same time, how can we humanize the online interaction? So normally when we communicate online, things could happen. So when something happens, for example, like when somebody freezes or they lose connection, so what do we do and what are the things that we say? So here I'll be sharing with you some useful phrases that you can use immediately if something goes wrong during the online communication. And lastly, how we can keep people engaged, and how you can keep yourself engaged during the online communication. Right, so are we ready to go into each point? All right, so the first point. So the first thing that we need to take into consideration when communicating online is appearance. So we need to look at ourselves first. So first question that you need to ask is, who is your audience? So if you are communicating with your team members, for example. So like for me, I normally communicate with my team members every single day. So we have meeting at 9 o'clock and we have another meeting at 5 o'clock. So normally we keep it casual, we wear something casual, but still looking neat and not messy. But let's see if you're communicating with your clients or customers or probably the upper management in your office. So probably you want to make it more formal. Yeah, so what you can do is you can put on something looking more professional, looking neat, but not too formal because you're communicating online. So the reason that you're doing this is because you're not just representing yourself, but you're actually representing your company. So the second thing that we need to observe is the background. So make sure that your background is free from any distracting elements. So what you can do is you can try free your space at the background, and let's say if there's some background noise, so maybe you can try to mute yourself. So this happens when you have, let's say, more than 10 people in the virtual meeting. So normally the meeting software will pick up all this background noise and it will disrupt the flow of the meeting. So what you can do is you can actually set a rule with everybody that if they want to speak, they can unmute themselves, but if they are not, they can mute. So that you can cancel any background noises and to keep people focused and not feeling distracted while communicating online. And the third thing is having balanced lighting. So you need to make sure that your lighting is not too bright or not too dark, and also make sure that the lighting is balanced on the left and right as well. So because you don't want only one face looking bright and the other face looking a little bit dark. So just make sure that it's balanced left and right. And then let's say if you don't have, proper lighting at home, probably you can invest in buying like proper lighting equipment, for example, like the ring light. So I'm pretty sure that you have seen that before. A lot of people are using it these days, especially when they're communicating online or making videos, and you can get it like on Lazada, like quite cheap. And let's say if you don't want to buy the ring light, you can also find a spot, probably at your office or at home, that has natural source of balanced lighting in that room, so you can have proper lighting. And then next, you need to check your sound. So I think this one, most people don't really have this problem because you'll be using your laptop or your computer, and normally there's built-in mic. So this is also depend on what kind of meeting software that you're using, and also what kind of meeting that you're doing. So if it's more like it's less formal, then you can just use your built-in mic. But for me today, since that I'm doing this webinar, so I'm using this professional mic over here, like you can see. And then lastly, okay, this is very, very important thing for us to consider, which is having strong internet connection. So because since that we are using meeting software, and we know that in order to use this, it requires good, strong internet. So here I'm going to be sharing with you some tips that I just learned. In order to get strong connection at home or at the office, you just need to make sure that you are in the same room as your modem. So this can actually help your laptop or your computer to pick up the signal pretty quickly and without any disruption. And then you also need to check if you have tinted film, glass doors or windows. So these tinted glass doors or windows can actually inhibit the signals, so that disrupt your computer from picking up the Wi-Fi signal. And then the third thing, what you can do is, let's say if you have the LAN cable, which is a local area network cable, you can plug it in straight away into your laptop or your computer, because that will ensure that you get superb internet. And lastly, okay, this is what I normally do. Since that my working place at home is not that ideal, as my modem is situated in the living hall where a lot of everybody's watching TV. So what I do is, whenever I need to use my meeting software, I use my mobile data. So I use my mobile data to connect to my laptop. So that ensures that I have stable connection throughout the meeting. So our next point is, how can we strengthen our active listening skills? So we need to know that when we have meeting online, or even not online, or even face-to-face, active listening is very, very important, because when you reflect or when you respond to what's been said by the speaker, so that shows that you understand and you know what's going on. So the speaker will feel understood, and that creates the foundation of trust and respect. So how do we practice active listening? So I'll be showing you this wheel that I've created for active listening online. So first of all, you need to make sure that you stay focused. So because it's quite easy to lose focus and get distracted when you are meeting online, sometimes because of the background noise, or probably sometimes your child just come in. So try to stay focused as much as possible. And then next, try to practice turn taking, because we need to avoid speaking over each other. Because if that happens, then sometimes it could be misconstrued as being rude, and it can also make people feel frustrated, because one person is talking and then another person wants to speak up as well, so it disrupts the flow of the meeting. So what you can do, let's say if you want to speak up, what can you do? So this is what I practice. So our team practiced this. So we put up our hands, so that signals the other person that you want to say something. Alright, and then next, when we communicate online, it's difficult for us to use vocal nods. So whenever you do things like when you say Yes, that's right. So it's good that it shows that you understand, but when you are communicating online and using the meeting software, it disrupts the meeting flow. So what you can do is you can still nod, but not visual. Use visual nods occasionally. So you can just, because people can see that. And then let's say people are speaking and you don't understand certain things. So it is okay for you to clarify quickly. So it is okay for you to clarify quickly, ask that, because you want to avoid misunderstanding during communicating online. And let's say if somebody loses connection, so that happens all the time, am I right? So if somebody loses connection, just ask straight away, I'm so sorry, the connection was bad, can you please repeat what you said? And then another thing that you can do is to ensure that you understand what the speaker has said, you can repeat what the speaker has said by using your own words based on your understanding. And then that's how you can confirm with the speaker that you are getting the right message. And then you please also wait for the response. And normally for online meetings, you have to wait a little bit longer. And then after that, you can summarize the key points. And at the end of the meeting, you can, if you have any doubts or if you don't understand certain things, you can ask questions. So feel free to ask questions, because this shows that you are interested in the virtual meeting, and it also creates the balance of understanding what the speaker has said, and the speaker also feel respected and know that you are interested in the meeting. So this is one of the important keys in communicating online, which is having human touch in virtual setting. So how do we humanize communication online? So first of all, you need to have eye contact. But having eye contact online is totally different as when we do it face to face. Because naturally, what do? When we communicate, we try to look at that person into their eyes, am I right? So the same goes to when we are doing it online. So naturally, what we do is when we see people, on the screen, we look at them. But actually, that is the wrong strategy. So if you want to ensure that people see that you are talking to them, because you need to think from their perspective. So from their perspective, if you're looking at them, they don't see that you're looking at them. They see that you are looking down. So to avoid that, what you can do is try to look into the webcam. So that's how they can see that, oh, okay, you are establishing eye contact. So, but you don't have to look into the webcam all the time, because sometimes you want to see how people react to what you have said. So what you can do is you occasionally can switch between looking into the camera and looking at the audience while you are having the meeting. And next thing is try to avoid speaking like a robot or speaking with a very, very flat tone. So I know that sometimes meeting online can be a little bit boring, and you lost all the senses when you could, as compared to when you're communicating face to face. But it's still important for you to vary your voice, because you know that body language is limited, everything is limited. So people rely more on the variation of your tone. And then it is also important that you actually ask people how they are. So let's say when you have a meeting, before you start, you can spend a few minutes to have a chit chat to ask how's everybody doing, because you know that during this lockdown, people lack social contact. So when you ask people how they are, then you feel, oh, okay, so you care about them, then that sort of humanizes the communication. And then next is use people's name while you're communicating. So this is not just you're personalizing the conversation, but at the same time, you actually acknowledging the people, the audience in that meeting. So people feel appreciated, and also it will draw their attention to be more focused in that meeting. And then please be aware of your body language. As I have mentioned just now, body language is quite limited. So what you can do is make sure that when you're communicating online, you sit straight. Okay, sit straight, eyes into the camera. If you're sitting on a swivel chair, so don't turn your body around, and then try to avoid. Let's say sometimes if you feel tired, try to avoid sitting like this, or you slouch, or make your side of your body facing the audience. So what you need to do is face straight. And lastly, okay, this is the most important thing. Try not to secretly browse the internet or your email or texting on your phone, because your audience can tell right away, because it's so obvious, because they can see that your eyes are looking somewhere else and you're not paying attention to the meeting. Alright, so our next point. So when things goes wrong, so I'm sure that you experience when somebody freezes, when someone loses connection, or have you experienced whereby someone is speaking too fast, or maybe it happened to yourself whereby you just space out. Sometimes you get sleepy, or you're not paying attention and you miss certain information. So what can you do and say when all these things happen? Alright, so let's say if somebody loses connection, or they freezes during the meeting. So what you can do, you can say, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. There was an issue with the connection. So that the speaker knows that, oh, okay, you didn't hear it, you didn't catch that, so that you can repeat whatever that's been said. And then next, if you experience somebody who is speaking too fast, you can say, and you can use their name. So for example, Sam, could you say that more slowly, please? And then lastly, if you space out, if you get sleepy, and you miss certain information, so you can say something like this, I'm sorry, would you mind repeating that? So the reason that we need to use all these repair strategies, because we need to have authentic and genuine communication, even though we communicate online. That is how we humanize our communication. So because it is important that you don't pretend that you understand the message conveyed. So try to be as genuine and as honest as possible. So even though you miss out certain information, even though you feel sleepy, you space out, you're not paying attention, but once your attention is back, and just ask them, okay, would you mind repeating that? So I'm pretty sure that they won't have any problems with it, and they will repeat whatever that's been said. And then our last point, which is, how can we get people engaged during the meeting, and yourself as well? So the first thing that you need to do is you need to prepare. So make sure that first thing that you need to prepare is you need to know how your meeting software work. And then the second thing is make sure that you know who to invite to the meeting. And then lastly, make sure that you have all the equipment that you would like to use for the meeting are all ready, and you know how to use them as well. And another part of preparation that is quite important is having an agenda. So this actually depends on the formality of your meeting. So let's say if your meeting is a bit formal, maybe you can get your agenda written down, and you can email it to everybody before the meeting. So this is to ensure that everybody knows what is going to be discussed in the meeting, and to keep everybody in check. And then let's say if it's not very formal, maybe you can just have an agenda in your head. At least you come prepared and you know what exactly to say in the meeting. And the next thing is try to set some ground rules, because communicating online is a bit challenging, as since this is quite new, so we don't know what are things that we should do, what are things that we can do, what are things that we can't do. So based on my experience, one important thing that everybody needs to understand, that we shouldn't speak over each other. So that's why, like for my meetings, so normally we put up our hands. So this is one of our rules, putting up your hands to signal the other person that you want to speak. Or let's say if somebody loses connection, because if you lose your connection, you won't know what's happening. So only the audience know that, okay, they lost you. So if you see somebody putting up their hands, so it's either they couldn't hear what you just said, or probably they want to say something. And then other rules, probably you can do like, okay, let's say if there are like a lot of background noises, especially if you have bigger meetings with a lot of audience, then you can ask them to mute themselves if they are not speaking, just to cancel out the noises so that people don't get distracted and everybody is engaged. So if you want to speak, you can just unmute yourself. And then please take advantage of all the features that your meeting software has. So feel free to use visual aids, like PowerPoint slides, or you can also use, like if you're using Zoom, you can also use the whiteboard feature. So if you want to type or you want to draw something during your meeting, you can do that, and that will keep people engaged and feel more interested to listen. Alright, so actually there's like one more thing that I would like to add. If you can, try to keep your meeting short and brief. But let's say if it takes longer, what you can do is maybe you can give breaks in between so that they will be recharged, or they will feel not so sleepy after they come back for the next session. Alright, so that's all the 5 tips that I've shared with you. So let's go through and summarize all the 5 points that I've made just now. So in order to make the human connection online, first thing that we need to observe is virtual communication etiquette. So you need to know what are the do's and don'ts, and make sure that you don't get distracted, and also at the same time you can help others not to feel distracted by using all the strategies that I have explained just now. And then make sure that you practice active listening skills to ensure that everybody is on the same page and they listen well. And then after that, please make sure that you humanize communication during online meetings. And then if something goes wrong, use all the repair strategies, phrases that I've shared with you just now. And lastly, make sure that people are engaged as well as yourself. So we have come to the end of this webinar, but let's see, if you would like to improve your communication skills. So Mango Training has come up with our new program, which is Mango Training Distance Learning. And we have 3 approaches that we pitch to our customers in order to maximize your staff learning ROI. So the first approach that you can opt for is the LMS, which is the Learning Management System. So in this Learning Management System, we have gamified multi-sensory materials, quizzes, simulations, very fun, very interactive. And then another approach that we use is we have the instructor-led sessions, where your staff or yourself can actually interact with the instructor, with the trainer in real time. And we also keep the group small to ensure that to maximize the participation. And lastly, we also offer webinars, just like this one, 30 minutes webinars, bite size, on soft skills or language. So it depends on the topic. So we will change the topic every time. So we have 2 different types of programs. So the first one is Business Communications in English. So for Business Communications in English, we have the fully integrated blend of English language and the soft skills. So it is for 16 hours face-to-face training time. And then the other program, we have the soft skills workshop. So this one is solely on soft skills, and it includes 8 hours of face-to-face trainer time. Alright, so do you have any questions? Alright, so if you would like to know more about us, feel free to check us on our website, which is www.mangotraining.com, or you can go to our Facebook and also our LinkedIn and also our Instagram. Alright, so are you ready for your online meeting? So what you can do is put something nice and have fun. Thank you.